Over this past weekend, I had some massage therapists come into my clinic for some in-person training. They asked me a great question about how to make more money in their practice and have a consistent and predictable income. So I decided it was a great topic to share on the show as well. Expect to learn the following: understanding the difference between price and value, avoiding the trap of pricing similar to other providers around you, how to structure your prices without being emotional about it, why do I never post my prices on my website. I hope you gain some new perspectives and learn something useful from the show. Welcome to the Soft Tissue Treatment Revolution podcast, where we teach overworked massage therapists a new injury treatment system that eliminates the frustrations of not getting consistent results, allowing them to reduce their treatment times by at least 50% and easily double their income. If you're new to the show and you don't know who I am, my name is Dr. Matt Maggio, and I am a soft tissue injury treatment specialist. I originally got my doctorate in chiropractic, but have never performed any adjustments in practice and only do soft tissue-based treatments, which I firmly believe are the best and most effective treatment methods available to help people in chronic pain stay the hell away from the traditional medical model full of pain pills and unnecessary surgeries, which only make things worse and ruin people's lives. Thanks for stopping by and checking out the show. All right, let's get into the show. So just a quick story. Recently, I've been doing some in-person trainings in my clinic in Raleigh, North Carolina. Like to have about 2 or 3 providers here, and been, training on my system and the treatment, mostly finding like nerve entrapments in the upper extremity, and really just helping people, kind of change the way they think about treatment, how they deliver it, do it better, faster, really stand out from other people all around their area, and really have something different to offer that's just like their traditional medical massage model or what people are doing in their practices. So we had some downtime in between the training, and I got a really good question from one of the providers. They're stuck around between like 40,000 and 50,000 per year. And they'd also kind of grown somewhat like stagnant in their practice and just wasn't really excited about it anymore. Kind of on that verge, been in practice, going on, I think like 10 or 11 years, and just was looking for a change, wasn't feeling challenged, just a lot of things. And they knew they needed to charge more, but they really just didn't know how to go about it, how to structure their prices, looking at other people in the area, charging similar, how to really stand out. So I told them I'd make a podcast on this, and hopefully it can help some other people as well about really how to structure the price and not get emotional about it, but also like looking at your practice as a true business, not just like a hobby that you can really dial in and have like predictable results and know what you're going to make and not really guess, or I guess be at the whim of like, oh, well, it's this time of year, so everybody's slow, so I'm going to make less money. It doesn't have to be like that, especially when you're providing like a solution and helping people. And I think the best way to do that is to help people get out of chronic pain. So like I said, this is all very common. I'm sure a lot of you that went to school didn't really get a lot of business classes, marketing classes, selling classes. I know I didn't. I remember when I was back in grad school, oh man, this had to be so long ago. I think this was like 2009, so like 16 years ago. And I'm back in grad school, and I think we had like 2 or 3 business courses. And the course was taught by this professor who basically had failed in practice like 4 different times and really had no clue as to what they were doing. But they were like teaching us a business class. And it was so funny. I remember we would come in and you'd walk to the front of the room, and there'd be all these like index cards laid down, face down, and you had to pick one, and there was a number on it. And the number was supposed to be how many new patients you had that week in your practice. And I pulled a 0 card, and I looked at the professor, and I was like, she's like, oh, you got 0, no new patients this week. Well, that sucks. And I go, well, I'm going to go out and get some patients. I'm going to go out and do some things. I'm going to go out and market. I'm going to go out and sell. She's like, well, how are you going to do that? And I thought to myself, I'm like, why the hell am I learning from someone that failed in practice and has no clue? But that's the problem. A lot of people that go into teaching, it's great that they're helping and teaching, but if they could really make a difference and do it, they'd be out in the real world. They couldn't really cut it. So they're teaching, and then they give you a bunch of bullshit and nonsense that they don't even know, or like some old school things that don't work anymore, and they don't really have an idea of what's going on. They're not tapped into it. So when I'm trying to learn from somebody, I want to learn from someone that's active in practice in the real world and really understanding like what they're doing, and they're not just some dinosaur. But there's a lot of people out there teaching now that are dinosaurs. They don't have a clue, and they just think, hey, if you just get really good at treatment, the practice will explode and do that. Not always. I always say if they don't know you, they can't flow you. So first thing I want to talk about is understanding the difference between price and value. Essentially, price is what they pay. Value is what they get. Think about that. Price is what they pay. Value is what they get. So a lot of times people think about the price before they ever know if they can actually, what the value is. They just look at it and they're like, oh, it's this amount. That's what it is. They don't have any really context or information or anything to help them understand what they're really getting out of it. And one thing that I always say, the only thing that beats free or cheap is fast. If you can fix a problem in 20, 30 minutes, that might take someone 2-3 hours, 10 visits, you're like 10 times more valuable, and you're helping them on such a different level. Because one thing that I always talk about is that people that tend to have a lot of money, they don't have a lot of time. So they don't have time to come in for an hour and a half or 2 hours, but they can find a way for 15 or 20 minutes, especially if you're fixing their problem and you're helping them, because it's such a better way. I say it all the time. If you can fix it in 30 minutes and another provider takes 90 minutes, you're 3 times more valuable, and the price should reflect that. People will pay more for speed and results than they will anything else. Next thing is you just want to avoid the trap of pricing similar to other providers around you. You know, a lot of people look around, they're like, oh, well, so-and-so's charging this, I'll charge $5 less, or I'll charge $5 more. And then you really get stuck in the commodity trap of like, you're all just doing pretty much the same thing. And a client that maybe is looking, they don't really understand the value of what they do. They're always going to probably go for the cheaper one just because of price, and that's how they're judging it. They're judging it solely off price, not what you can actually do for them. And there's nothing great about being the cheapest provider, because at the end of the day, you're never going to compete with the chain stuff. You're never going to compete with Hand and Stone and Massage Envy or Elements or whatever they are, because they can continue to price lower and lower. They're like the Walmart brand. And there are people that just want to shop at Walmart. That's fine. But I want to talk to people that want to shop high end and want to do that, because there is tremendous upside in being the most expensive provider. It really can change the whole dynamic of what you do, what you provide, and the value, because it goes back to the idea of price is what they pay, value is what they get. So how to structure your prices without being emotional about it. You know, a lot of people say to me, they're like, and I did this mistake, they're like, I want to make 6 figures this year. And then they're like, okay, well, what's your plan to do that? And they don't really know. They're just like, well, I hope I do that. And you can wish in one hand and shit in the other and see what fills up first. But like understanding it logically and breaking down the numbers is really going to help you. So I'm going to do some basic math. I'm going to try to talk slow here, but basically I want to teach you how to go from this person essentially from 50K a year to 100K per year. And this is also going to be working less than 24 hours per week, just for math numbers and things like that. So first off, what do we need to hit per month? And one thing that I also like to do is I do like to build in at least 1 month off per year. I don't do it all together. I think that's stupid if you take a whole month off. But I build that in, you know, maybe a week in around 4th of July, a week around Thanksgiving, and then a week around Christmas, and another week around New Year's or something like that. When other people are taking time off, that's going to help you take that time off as well, but also not being like, oh shit, I'm losing money. I got to get back in there. I got to grind during the holidays. You shouldn't have to. You can really do this. So in order to hit these numbers, what I talked about, first off is we need to make $15,000 per month. That might seem like a lot to you. It is a big number, but it's really not when we break it down. Next thing we want to look at is your overhead. What is your overhead? I think your overhead should be about 20% or less. If it's more than that, your margins just aren't great. If you don't understand what margins are, you don't understand business. But basically, your overhead's going to be like your rent, your marketing, your liability insurance, your supplies, all that stuff. So for this one, I want to keep the overhead at 20%. So that would be $3,000 per month of overhead. So now that gives me a taxable, that's right, taxable income of $12,000. And here's another thing, please make sure that you're at least an LLC and not a sole prop. You know, if you're just a sole prop, you get taxed way more. You miss a lot of benefits of things that you can actually write off with your taxes and the percentage that you pay. So yeah. So then based off of that, I always say, you know, plan on about 25% to pay back to the government, you know, just so they can steal it and do a bunch of stupid shit with it. But hey, it's what it is. Got to deal with it. So now you're down to $3,000 out for taxes. So after that, that leaves you with $9,000 take home per month after taxes with all of your overhead paid. We times that by 11 months. That gives me $99,000 per year of take home after taxes. So you're like, okay, that makes sense, but that is a lot of money. I'm gonna have to charge a lot. I'm gonna have to work a lot. I'm gonna have to bust my ass, and I just don't think I got it in me. Well, here's what I actually recommend for a schedule. I recommend 24 hours total per week of actual hands-on treatment time. And I like to schedule a 4-day work week. And the way I do it is either I say go Monday through Thursday or Tuesday through Friday. And what I like to do just for my schedule, because I actually like to use the mornings to work out, read, eat good, get myself set up so I'm not rushing. So what I work is a split schedule, 4 days a week, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and then 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. I actually like to do the Monday through Thursday because then I get Friday and I can go a lot longer, and almost I have a built-in 3-day weekend every weekend. You can also do the same thing reverse, but basically this gives me 24 hours of treatment time available. Then what I do is I actually do a 20-minute treatment in my clinic, but a lot of people that learn with me and they first start off, we get on to a 30-minute treatment per session. So now what this does is this gives you what I call units. Now you have 2 units per hour. So now when we have a unit, we have what I call 48 total units where we can actually see someone for a treatment. And then what I'd say to price that at, if we want to hit these numbers, would actually be $80 per unit for a 30-minute treatment. We also teach you in the system how to get them to pay for multiple treatments up front, pay for it in the beginning when they're in the most pain, but really put you in a good spot. So looking at it as total units. So it's like, if I want to hit those numbers, this is what I need to hit. And it's not a crazy working schedule. You're not doing 2 or 3 hour sessions. You're not burnt out. You're acting more clinical. You're doing a lot of different things. I talk about this. I share a lot of information on the YouTube page and other social medias about how to actually transform your practice from a service-based practice to a solutions-based practice, which can help you get to this point. And it is a nice schedule. You're not burnt out. You're enjoying stuff. You're making good money. You're not feeling like, oh, what is it going to be this month? Your income is predictable because you know what you have to put in. Whatever you put in the system, it's going to give it back to you. And lastly, why I never post my prices on my website. People are like, how can you not put your prices on the website? Because there's these people called looky-loos. And basically, when you have a looky-loo, they're only judging what you do strictly off of price. They're just looking to get the cheapest one. They're never going to be loyal customers. They're only judging off price. And then I say they don't really understand the value of what I can provide and how I can help. It also helps you avoid getting what I call commodity shopped, where they're kind of comparing you to other people. They're like, well, so-and-so charges this and they charge that. You're not going to have these problems anymore when you're actually providing a solution. And then it also gives the client an opportunity to understand the value first before actually seeing the price. So I talk a lot about the whole thing of like making sure we're working with the type of people we want to work with. We qualify them, knowing exactly that they're the kind of clients we want to work with. Then we do a consultation. Then we do an examination. We really slow down, really do the process. And then when we give them the price and it's paid for in advance, it actually matches up with what we're going to do. And then they understand the value. And lastly, it just helps you weed out the pain in the ass clients just looking for a bargain, because they're never going to be the kind of clients you want to work with. They're never going to stick around. And if they do refer people in, they're going to be cheap bastards just like them. So in closing, hopefully you're still with me after all that math. But more importantly, I'm hoping you understand when you look at it logically with your pricing, it can be done and it's not as much stress and hard work as it seems. Just being practical and really just laying out the plan. So as I close every podcast out, and I'll close this one out with, go out there and be great this week. The world needs access to your amazing soft tissue treatments so they can stay the hell away from pain pills, injections, and surgeries, which only make things worse and ruin people's lives. I appreciate you listening, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.